Incorporated. You're watching Buzz with Jess Lujan.
Good evening, Guam. I'm Jess Lujan. Welcome to this edition of The Buzz. Glad to have in studio tonight, of course, the Director of the Department of Corrections, Jose San Agustin, and of course, good KUAM former sports anchor here, Brant McCreadie, Senator Brant McCreadie. How you doing, guys?
Good. Thank you for having us.
Before we start, you know what? I want to say thank you very much to Umatic by the Sea. This bracelet here is made by the youth of the Umatic Coral Reef Association, and this actually was from Jaron. So Jaron, thank you very much. And if you want to know how to get buy some of this, is for a worthy cause, call the Umatic Mayor's office. They'll get you in touch with Jaron or the folks from the Umatic by the Sea, and again for a worthy cause. But gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator.
Got that out of the way. But anyway, thank you very much for coming over here tonight to talk about the prison situation here. Senator, before we go to Senator McCreadie, you guys are on the news tonight. You're coming close to celebrating 25 years, almost 25 years of a federal consent decree at the Department of Corrections. You know, just a couple of days ago, over the weekend, I was reading the situation in the California prisons, and they're definitely in a federal receiver already.
Sure.
I mean, you know, and when I saw that, I said, can we be looking at facing this as a Guam community as well? And of course, the governor of California asked the Supreme Court for a stay. It was not granted, so it looks like about 10 or 20% of their prisoners looks like they're going to have to be let go. Mr. Director, we're looking at California. Is this very possible for Guam?
Well, Senator, I want to say this, that I would like to try to avert that possibility. With that said, it's kind of being confused, a consent decree and a stipulated agreement.
Okay.
More so, it's a stipulated agreement in which the government of Guam, territory of the U.S., and the Department of Justice had agreed that we will comply with the findings of the deficiencies in the Department of Correction back in 1991. And that's the fire suppression, the backup generators, the medical, not having sufficient medical folks on deck, and also the electronic locking. We are making struggles, but moving forward slowly in addressing and making that a reality. But as we continue to do that, our population continues to grow, our facility continues to get older. The facility was built around 1967, 68, and so, you know, cracks, you can patch them as much as you want, but the cracks are still there. And it's going to come to a point where that housing unit is not going to be usable. And so ensuring that we comply with the mandates, again, I would like to try to avert a federal receivership, and I'm hoping with the good old senator stepping in and other stakeholders out there and partners that might want to be partners with DOC step in and try to assist us in coming up with a solution.
And one of the things as a matter of fact, I was talking about this on the radio. I think it was last week.
Yes.
You made the news basically in regards to detainees, DUIs, and possibly now this is it now crosses between a detainee and a medical situation where you said, hey, we don't have the medical facilities here. We don't have people down here trained in this, and so you send a memo out that caused a lot of havoc out there. But you know what? I agree with what you said. I mean, at least what it accomplished was everybody came together now. Everybody came together.
Absolutely. Well, Senator, I was beaten up really bad, but you know, getting a beating is good. Because what that does is now I got to take a look at.
Well, now everybody came and said, "Hey, this is the situation." So, as we said on the radio, if that's what you wanted to accomplish, you accomplished it.
Yes, yes. So it caught some attention. But with that, we will like to move forward and
Sure.
try to avert a federal receivership, because I don't think it's going to be a pretty picture.
Yeah.
And shame on me as a director for allowing that to happen. So I would like to say that we would like to possibly try to prevent that from happening. And part of that is, of course, it's being addressed and it's being acknowledged throughout our community. And I'm sure that the Department of Justice is keeping a close eye on this, actually saying, well, they care and it's being addressed. And hopefully something good will come out of it. because that's all we're aiming
Sure.
for, is to make it better.
Senator McCreadie, you had the opportunity with a couple of your colleagues to tour the facilities of the Department of Corrections as well. Before we get into your proposed bill, what did you see there? I mean, you're not there every day, but what did you see? Were you surprised about some of the things that you saw? I mean, is it something that you read about and hear about is very different from actually going there and seeing the conditions?
I saw an institution that needed to be in compliance. I saw an institution that was still locking their harshest prisoners with master locks that you lock with your hands. The math is pretty simple. It holds 330 maximum capacity. We're at 713. We're facing class action lawsuits. We're facing a 25-year anniversary that nobody's going to celebrate. It's going to cost us millions of dollars to kick the can down the road for another 2 years, let alone 23 years.
Sure.
We've been in that federal agreement with the federal government since 1991. The time is any time right now is a good time to focus our efforts on building a new prison. This isn't a piece of legislation that improves the quality of life for the prisoner. It's not meant for that. This is to improve the quality of the institution. This is to improve the fact that when the people of Guam go home at night and fall asleep, they feel safe. They're not worried about holes in walls. They're not worried about escapees. They're not worried about when we arrest someone on the front end, what happens to them at the very end when they get confined. Do we have enough room to hold them? And right now, tell you the truth, we don't. And it is a tough situation to swallow when you go to the Department of Corrections. And not only is the director backed up into a corner, but the safety conditions of the workers at Department of Corrections is compromised.
Sure.
And so when you put all that together, you come up with one solution. Build a new prison, do it correctly, so we do not have to worry about this in the next 20 or 30 years. So in 25 years, we celebrate a silver anniversary of a new prison, and then people will be happy. But more important than being happy, this is a public safety issue.
Sure.
And our public needs to be safe, and they need to know that they're safe.
And
this does that.
And likewise with that, Mr. Director, when we were reading about the memo that you sent out as well, and I was thinking about this. I said, we don't have capital punishment in Guam. We have life sentences and all that, and nobody should be sentenced again. I mean, our law says nobody's sentenced to a death penalty.
Right.
And what you were saying down there is that, hey, yes, they're going to be detainees, but it's crossing over to be a medical situation as well that we're not equipped to handle. We don't have facilities, we don't have the personnel to handle this. And yes, they're detainees. They haven't even been seen or heard by the courts. And
That's right.
You don't want people, as you said, dying on just because of medical situation.
Absolutely.
That you cannot you cannot help. I mean, the last I heard, I don't know, Senator, is there a bill that was passed that we have capital punishment? I mean, I know there was a death penalty issue years back. It was on the ballot, but I don't think it has been rehashed to come about.
I know we don't have a death penalty, but truth be told, the 32nd Guam legislature is being very tough on crime, and they're being extremely tough on sentencing of crimes. So, at one point of the spectrum, we're telling these recidivisms or these repeat offenders that we're going to fight crime as leaders with punishment, which is fine, and I totally agree. If you commit a crime, you should be punished to the fullest extent of the law. And if that means that you pay the ultimate price by staying in jail for life, then so be it. At that same time, we have to support the Department of Corrections.
Sure.
And by building a new facility, we can do that. We can be tough on crime with sentencing guidelines or fight crime with punishment. And that's exactly what this bill does. And more than anything else, it improves the quality of our workers at Department of Corrections, and as you know, a happy worker is a more productive worker.
There we go.
Who wants to go to work. So.
You know what? We'll talk more about the conditions up there. And Mr. Director, tell us more about the conditions up there when we come back, okay? Be right back.